Hi, I'm Mitch Shoemaker, and today is day 82 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and focusing on today. So, yay, I made it to day 82. I had a very busy day today, which I'm very grateful for. And it's interesting because I read my scriptures and meditationals, and I was doing my little writing, trying to see myself the way that God sees me, or what do I need to know for today. And one of the things that I remember writing down this morning was that everything was going to be okay, even if things didn't work out the way that I wanted it to today. And I thought, oh, that's a carryover from yesterday, right? And things did not go how I wanted it to go today, but it didn't stop me from doing things today. I have been stiff and sore today, more so tonight because I went to work. That was probably not a wise decision because I was already stiff and sore. And when I first went out and I was driving, I didn't think that it was that bad. It didn't hurt too bad. But the later I was out, the worse it got. And now I'm just like, oh, it hurts to move. So, and yet I'm still on my exercise ball doing my video. So I'm ignoring my pain, which is probably not a good thing. But I did have kind of a realization tonight at work and realizing that I could push myself. I could put in more hours and I could, run myself into the ground or just, push myself until I drop, basically. And I could do that for several days in a row. And then I would basically, take a week or something to recuperate. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't need to keep doing that. That's the whole extreme thing that I do, go from one extreme to the other where I do the all or nothing thing where I just, push myself until there's nothing left, until I've done way too much and I fail to find the balance. So I did, however, go to work today, which is the first time in several weeks. So I'm like, yay. But I wanted to stop at 4 hours, but I went for 5. I worked for 5 hours tonight. So it was good. It was good, but I'm really sore. I feel like I really overdid it. Oh, my leg really hurts. I'm sorry. My leg just really hurts right now. It's distracting me from everything. But I am really grateful I have a high tolerance to pain or I might be crying. So, um, but anyway, I'm grateful that I was able to get a lot of things done today. Um, I was very productive this morning, and then I went to work this evening, and I did spend some time playing my games today. And tonight, after I got home from work and I sat down, got something to eat, and I turned on the TV, and I was just laying there, and I was like, you know what? I need this. This is what I do to unwind. This is how I kind of just relax and let go, and then I can, breathe for a minute before I write in my journal and process my whole day, before I do my video, before I do everything else. I need to have that little bit of a break. And so watching an hour or two, I think it was like an hour and a half, whatever, of TV it wasn't bad. And I mean, I watched a show that I've seen like a bunch of times, so it was just kind of, mind numbing, just relaxing. It was nothing um that it just I needed that. So I'm like, okay, maybe the whole concept or idea of giving up TV and games on my phone um, for 100 days is probably not the wisest decision in the world. But there is that whole point of finding a balance. And I think today I realized that because I did let myself take a nap. Because I didn't sleep much last night. I mean, I slept yesterday and got up, and then I tried to go back to sleep, and I only slept for a couple of hours, and then I kept laying in bed trying to sleep, and it wasn't working. And the thought going through my head that, cease to sleep longer than is needful. Pretty sure that's a scripture somewhere. Old Testament, New Testament, something. I don't know. Might be the Doctrine and Covenants. I have no idea, but it's one that runs in my head every once in a while. So I'm like, well, I still felt tired, but I'm not sleeping. So I did. I got up, I took a shower, I got dressed, I did some laundry. I took my car to get inspected so I could go to work. I did a bunch of, things like that. I actually read through the notes, suggestions that my mentor sent me on my book, Recognizing God's Hand in My Life. And some of the comments I liked and appreciated. Some of them I was like, seriously? And And a lot of them, it was because I didn't put in a lot of details in my book. And so she was asking for more details. She was like, show, don't tell, and things like that. And I was like, oh, crap. I didn't put in the personal details. I didn't put in people's names. And it is confusing without that information. And I kind of glossed over the surface of things. And I'm like, this makes sense to me. Um, but I didn't delve deeply into it. And some of it, she was trying to figure out how my biological dad was a monster because her dad did similar things as far as like the verbal abuse or the spankings and things like that. And I was like, okay, you do realize that's abuse, right? That's not appropriate. But the sad thing is, I think for her time growing up, and even when I was growing up, that was something that was considered acceptable. That parents were allowed to beat their kids for no reason, um, or excessively, and verbal abuse wasn't even considered a thing. Even, I mean, it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing that people were um, it wasn't a thing that people were punished for. I guess you could say mean things and degrade people, control people, things like that, especially women, especially girls. And that's changed, and that was true of like children too. It's like, oh, your kids, supposed to be seen and not heard, kind of a thing. And not that it was that way or true of every family or every situation, but people didn't go into the homes to see what was going on with the kids. They didn't, there was no CPS or child services or whatever it is now that they have. And I mean, it did at some point. It came around because of the abuse and things like that. But times evolve and things change, and so for me, what I see or saw as abuse and something bad, my mentor, she's reading it. She's like, I don't get it. Explain in more detail. And I'm like, I could explain in more detail, but I can't really. I don't want to tell my siblings' side of the story. And interestingly enough, most of my story as far as the abuse from my biological dad was it's kind of interesting because I feel like I just had this I was very protected. I feel like God really protected me in a lot of ways when it came to my biological dad. I also have like a very sensitive spirit, and I felt like I was responsible for my siblings. So every time he hurt them because of something I said or because I couldn't stop him from hurting them, I felt responsible and I felt guilty for it. And I saw them hurting, and it hurt me to see them hurting. So sometimes I think, and I don't know that it's true, it's just me and my brain, or maybe I've watched too many movies or read too many books with the evil characters or the bad characters, where it's like they got some kind of pleasure out of watching me cringe seeing someone else get hurt. It was a way to get to me by hurting my siblings. So it was a different kind of abuse, I guess. But it's also a way for me to look at my life and see that somehow, amidst all of the abuse that was going on, that was done to me and to my siblings, that maybe I got ignored and neglected a lot more than I got physically abused, or verbally abused. But I didn't appreciate being the pretty child, the perfect child, the skinny child, the one that didn't need the attention, um, the one that could always do without, the one that had to be the chameleon and change to be other people. So, um, but my viewpoint, is still that my biological dad is a monster for the things that he did, and not just to me, but what he did to my siblings, and also my biological mom had a tendency to point it out. Like after my parents got divorced, she would tell us that she saved us from him because, and that we were better off, that she was, putting an end to the abuse, not the manipulation or the neglect, because that still happened with her. I have more compassion as to why that happened with her. Of course, she had her own trauma that she wasn't able to work through. She had to work full time. Wasn't supported by other people um, at church or in the neighborhood, and she had 5 teenagers to raise. So, or 5 kids. We weren't all teenagers at the time, but 5 kids to raise by herself, and that can't have been easy. especially in that day and age where there wasn't a lot of support or daycares or anything else like that to take kids for after school programs. So, we were what's called latchkey kids, and you had little kids to get into the house and stuff. So, I have a lot more understanding now, but I mean, I had to go through my phase of where, when I was growing up, I thought it was perfectly okay. And then I moved away and I started working on myself and going to counseling and 12-step programs. And I'm like, okay, none of this stuff that happened to me is okay. So then it was like the shock, it was coming out of the denial. And then as more things have happened in my life, and as I've been working on these videos and working on myself, I've had greater insights. I mean, honestly, since I got divorced, I've had a lot more insights and understanding my biological mom, which, I wasn't on the best of terms with her, especially when she passed away. I was on speaking terms with her, which is better than not speaking terms, which at one point I was not on speaking terms with her. So um, that has since changed. But it was just me learning how to take care of myself and setting boundaries and learning what was and wasn't okay. And a lot of what happened wasn't okay, or it wasn't okay for me, and I wasn't getting my needs met, and I wasn't a priority in anyone's life, including my own. So um, the purpose of my book was to kind of to show that and to show how I maybe was blessed or escaped some of the abuse, but it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And again, my perspective is completely different because it's my life, and I do know that what happened to me is less than probably what happened to my siblings, but still felt very traumatic to me, almost like the abuse that my biological dad was like individualized to each one of us, me and my siblings, to what would affect us the most somehow. Um, and it did. He was successful at that. We all have our own traumas, but we don't even talk to each other about our traumas. I mean, um, I was in my late 30s when my older sister told me what my biological dad did to him, and my younger sister had nightmares because of something he did to her, and I to this day have no idea what that was because she's still not comfortable talking about it or sharing that with anyone. I know that my sister-in-law told me that when they got married that my brother would have nightmares, which is something I didn't know until she told me that, and it was surrounded based on the abuse and things that my biological dad did. And it's like, he was kicked out of the house by the time my brother was, what, like 10? And he still had nightmares when he was married and had kids of his own. So, I mean, there was some serious trauma going on with that man. He did some serious damage. But again, I don't know the details of it. And my other brother is still single. He's depressed. He's overweight. He's, can't get out of bed. He's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And severe depression, and and I know it's because of the environment in which we grew up in. We all have some form of depression, some of which may be genetic and some of it may have been because of all of the trauma. um, so it's really hard to say. And of course, what I consider to be traumatic and difficult may be something that's a breeze to someone. Like my mentor, she's like, oh, I lived through that, it's no big deal. And I learned, got past it as an adult and got along with my dad once, I was out of the house and had kids of my own. And I'm like, okay, I don't see that happening with mine. But okay. um, and some people had it way worse. um, and still have it way worse. Not my siblings necessarily. I mean, they have to deal with their stuff that was way worse. But like I said, I don't know. I don't know all their details. And in writing my book, I don't want to write their story. And there was one comment my mentor made about, okay, well, if you're not going to tell it, maybe you can just, hint at something so we have an idea as to what may have happened to your sister. I'm just like, I don't know how comfortable I am with doing that because it's something my sister, like I said, she didn't tell me till like 20 some odd years after it happened what happened. And it's not something that she would want to be made known public. So it's not something I want to share in my book. Um, So it's just going to be one of those things that I'm going to have to do a lot of praying about and rewriting. And of course, since I read through all of the notes, now I have like ideas where I'm like, okay, I have to go back and add details or justifications to things or explain things in more details, maybe actually list cities and names, or maybe just use people's initials or something so that you can tell them apart. And then explain more of feelings, doing more of showing instead of telling. I don't have any actual conversations in my book. It's all just my memories and sharing my feelings and my memories. And my mentor is like, well, maybe you could put some conversations in here. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about doing that either. Um, that's really not how I wanted to write it, but I don't know. But it does give me some ideas of things that I can look at and go back and change. And of course, because I read it and now I have all these ideas spinning in my head, it means that I will probably start working on it this week because it will bug me until I do something about fixing it. And then, of course, I'll fix it and I'll send it back to him like, okay, is this better? Does this work? Does this make more sense? Because that's what I do. That's how my process is. That's me as a people pleaser. But it's like, okay, I'm still writing my story and I'm still doing it in a way that makes sense for me. And I still know that I don't have to um, do it the way that she says in particular, but I can take her suggestions and I can go back through and say, okay, what can I add? What am I willing to change? What other details am I willing to put in there? And of course, the realization that I'm like, as difficult as it was for me to write what I did, I scratched the surface of things and I was nervous about doing that. And she's like asking for more details. And I'm like, more details? You want me to go deeper into this? I wasn't planning on doing that. But if I am going to get readers or people interested in reading it and getting through the entire thing and having it make sense, then I will probably have to put more into it. So makes me a little bit nervous, but I know if that's what I'm supposed to do, that God will help me to do that. So, and even though I didn't do any actual writing today, I did spend like half an hour going through all of her notes for it, maybe longer than that, I don't know. But it was nice to like actually go through it, to actually kind of look at my book again, or at least just look at the notes, even if I didn't look at what I wrote again. So that made me feel really good about that. So something to do with my writing. So yay, I like when I get to talk about my writing, because again, that was the point of doing these videos, is to promote myself as an author and a writer and whatever. And I haven't been published yet, but I still think about my writing, and something I'm still working towards accomplishing, and just trying to remember that it's um, I'm the tortoise, not the hare. Slow and steady wins the race. Baby steps, one day at a time. All of those things are turning into my little mantras of things to do. And I know I kind of wore myself out today, which is why I let myself take a nap, because I did all that stuff this morning. And then I only slept for a couple of hours, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to get something to eat. And I made myself go to work, and I worked for like 5 hours. And then I came home and, because I'd got something to eat again, and watched a little TV. And then I wrote in my journal. But I am grateful that I could do that. And I know that I'm really sore, so I probably overdid it. It probably would have been okay if I hadn't injured myself yesterday, but I think I needed to keep my leg elevated a little bit more, and my legs are just really sore. And I did call the chiropractor to make an appointment, and the one that I usually see is unavailable for the next until June, sometime in June. And I was like, I kind of don't want to wait 2 months. So I'm seeing one of his associates I haven't seen before, but I can't get in until Wednesday, so in 2 days. But that's okay. I figured that's better than not at all. So I will deal with that. But like I said, my day didn't go exactly as I wanted to. I didn't put in as many hours as I thought I would at work. And I took a nap, which I wasn't planning on doing. I was just going to push myself all the way through the day. But I realized as I was writing in my journal that one, I'm doing more things, which means that I am getting better, slowly getting better. I am rebuilding my energy. I think some of my energy is like back, but I just don't have the amount of energy that I had before. And of course, I've been overweight and out of shape anyway. So I'm building up more stamina so I can do things for longer, for more hours than I was before. longer stretches at a time, I guess, before I have to take a break or before I have to take a nap or whatever the case may be. And I'm not going an entire day and I'm not going the whole day just being super productive, but I'm being more productive than I've been. So I feel like I'm making progress. I also feel like I'm doing a little bit better at listening to my body, at finding a balance because I let myself take a nap today instead of forcing myself to push through the day. And I let myself stop working tonight, even though I could have stayed out and still been working right now, to try to make the money I need to pay the bills. And I decided, you know what, it's not worth running myself into the ground. It's not worth doing the extreme and being so exhausted that it takes me like a week to recuperate or 2 or 3 days or whatever. I don't have to do that. I can find the balance where I can continue to do a little bit more or do the same amount for several days in a row until I have the energy to do a little bit more. Every 20, 30 days, increase it. Or, every week or two, increase it. Just, so that my body gets, so that I can adjust, but I keep pushing myself just a little bit at a time. And I think that's a much healthier approach to it, and I think that's a much better way to do it. So, not sure how that's going to pay the bills or how that's going to work with work, but I am grateful that I could slowly start being more productive. I'm grateful for all the things that I was able to accomplish today, including going to work tonight and even reading the stuff that my mentor commented on for my book. So I have ideas as to how to rewrite it and how to make it better. And it may take me a couple more rewrites, so obviously it's not as close to being published as I would like it to be. But it's getting better, and I know it's getting better, and I'm grateful for that. And um, and I know it's a process. And I know the more times I face my book and write it, the more healing will come. The less emotional, hopefully, that I will be over some of these things, and it will just be more process of letting go because I don't need to hold on to all that stuff. And it's going to happen in the Lord's timing and according to His will and not mine. And I just need to remember that. And I need to remember to be listening to His Spirit as I'm writing that book and getting help and guidance and what direction to say what and how. And it'll work. It'll all work one way or the other. So I'm grateful for that too. Just like I said, I did a lot today. I feel like I did a lot today. Part of me feels like I maybe did too much, overdid it just a little bit, but I don't think but I know I stopped. I let myself take a nap and I didn't stay out working too late so that I can still have energy to do things that need to be done tomorrow and the next day and whatever else. I don't know. Um, but I know I have stuff going on tomorrow, which is another reason I wanted to quit early because I'm like, I'm already sore. I'm already tired. And I don't need to push myself and then reduce the amount of sleep. I'm already struggling to sleep. I'm not going to make it so I only get another 3 or 4 hours of sleep again because functioning on little amounts of sleep doesn't work either. Lots of cat naps, not very healthy. So I feel like I'm doing a little bit better at listening to my body and at finding a little bit of a balance. It's just taken a long time, and it's just sort of just set in today. Just that realization that I don't have to. I mean, I can push myself to do a little bit more, a little bit extra, which I did today. I did more than I've done in a long time, which is amazing to me. But I didn't have to push myself to the point, that I had nothing left. I didn't have to overdo it, basically. So I could push myself to do a little more than I've done, but not overdo it and not because I think sometimes when I overdo it and I go to that extreme, it kind of undoes the work that I've done because then I'm just so exhausted I don't do anything. And so it's that back and forth extreme thing. And I think I'm starting to find that balance where I'm not overdoing it, where I'm still probably resting more parts of the day than I'm working, but I've been doing more work here and more work there. And I did a lot of work last Thursday. I ended up not doing stuff Friday because I just needed to recoup, and it was okay. And then I started doing some things again Saturday and lots of things yesterday, and well, not lots yesterday. Yesterday I slept because I hurt myself. Um, but today I was able to do things, but I think I'm not going to say I'm balanced. I know I still have a tendency to lean towards the extremes, the all or nothing, but I didn't make it an all or nothing today. And even though I didn't do all, which is what I wanted today, and it didn't work out in the order that I wanted it to today, it all it worked out. I was able to do enough, and that's all that matters. And maybe it wasn't enough, but it was the best that I could do. So I'm good with what I did today. I feel very accomplished today. I feel very grateful for the things that I have learned, for the ideas that I have for my book, and also very grateful that I listened to my body, that I stopped when I needed to stop, that I didn't push myself, that I recognized my limitations, that I accepted that things aren't going to work out the way that I want them to. But it's okay, because one way or the other, things will work out eventually. And I know that God is in control and He's watching out for me. And I know that I had those thoughts and impressions today, that it wasn't going to go the way that I wanted it to, that I wasn't going to make the money I wanted to make tonight, that things weren't going to go according to my timing. And I wasn't planning on taking a nap. I was planning to work during that time and all those things. But I did what I felt I needed to do for me, and I put me first, not my finances, not my bills, not whatever. I put my physical needs, my emotional needs first, and I was just like, this is what I need for my own sanity and to rest. And because I'm sore and tired, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm not perfect at it. I'm so far from perfect at it, but I finally feel like I'm starting to find a balance, and I'm starting to find a balance without going to the extreme of having to never play games on my phone and never watch TV. But I mean, I waited until I got home from work tonight to turn on my television. I didn't turn it on all day. I can't say the same for my games. I did wait. I did look at Facebook for a little bit when I got up this morning because I didn't want to get out of bed, but I didn't play games on my phone until I was sitting and waiting for them to do the car inspection. So I was just sitting there while they were doing it. I just played games on my phone because I figured, what else am I going to do? I'm sitting in some lobby for half an hour. I can do that. So then, of course, I came home and played games on my phone for like another hour. But it's not been to the extreme. And the only thing I was avoiding by playing games when I came home was taking a nap, because I couldn't, or doing dishes or something that required me to stand. And it hurts to stand or put weight on my leg for too long right now. Makes my toe hurt, makes my leg hurt. I really did a fun little number on my leg there. So but when it's up or when I'm resting or get some sleep, it actually feels better and it doesn't hurt as much. So I'm hoping it'll feel a little better tomorrow. Um, but like I said, I didn't have to go to the extremes, and I oftentimes think that it has to be the extreme, the all or nothing. And I was thinking the all or nothing yesterday. And today I was able to still enjoy playing some games and to recognize that I can use watching television as a way to just kind of unwind, relax, and take a break. I just have to set a boundary so I don't indulge for the rest of the day, or so that I don't waste my time doing it, that I can spend like an hour and a half or 2 hours something watching it, and then I need to do something else, or half an hour, watch a show for half an hour, take a break, and then get up and do something else. So it's just a process of building up the energy and getting in the habit of doing more things. And as I do more things, I have less time to just sit and watch and less interest. And part of me is just like, okay, I don't want to spend all of my time doing that. And if I'm just doing that to avoid something, what am I avoiding? And today it was a nap, so I took a nap. And tonight it was I just wanted to unwind. So I'm like, I don't care. I just want to unwind. I just don't want to think about anything. I need to relax because I'm just so stiff and sore. So it was just nice to relax. So I'm grateful that I'm starting to find a balance, that I'm not teetering as far into the extremes as I have been. Although I was kind of trying to push myself towards that today. My mind is still thinking in the extremes. But I'm grateful that my actions are not leading to the extremes. that I am accepting my limitations, that I am listening to my body, because my mind is like, hey, we can do this. We've done this before. And my body's like, let's not try that. Okay, let's just not do that. And I still pushed myself a little bit more than I would have liked. So I'm a little bit more sore than I would like, probably. But I know that I'm going to be okay. It's all going to work out one way or the other. And I'm grateful for the thoughts and the inspiration and the ideas of how to do things moving forward. And it's maybe not necessarily a way that I want to do. And I've been very stubborn in trying to avoid doing things like that. Um, but maybe it's necessary. So it's kind of put me in a perspective or situation where I realize that maybe it's necessary to make some changes, um, to allow myself to continue to heal and to get the rest that I need and the time to work on my books and to do what I need to do and still be able to pay the bills. So how it is, I don't know how it's going to work out, but see what happens as I go forward. But I didn't do anything with it tonight. It's just ideas. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. See how I feel tomorrow, because how I feel kind of determines what I do for the day, which I'm grateful that I've been feeling pretty good and motivated to do things. And even though I've been frustrated, I'm not sleeping, I'm still making choices to get up and do stuff. And it makes me feel good that I'm making those choices. And I don't feel as overwhelmed by the undone tasks. They're still there. They're still ominously looming, but I'm like, they can wait. They've been there forever. They'll still be there. It's no big deal. I'm not gonna let it ruin my day or my attitude. So I'm grateful for that too. Um, and I think I think I'm rambling. Just lots of things that I'm grateful for, and I know that I'm slowly making changes and I'm slowly making progress, and I think I'm slowly becoming more aware of the progress and changes that I'm making, and grateful to feel like I'm starting to find a balance. I don't feel like I'm balanced as of yet, but baby steps, one day at a time. Progress, not perfection. It's one of my favorite sayings from Al Anon. It's progress, not perfection. So that's my goal, and I'm grateful for that. It's much simpler. It doesn't have to be perfect. So anyway, that's where I'm at today. I'm very grateful for the things that I got done, and that's all I have. So if you like these videos, you're gonna hit like, subscribe, share with someone else if you think they'll like it too. And I hope you have a great day full of gratitude and maybe do some writing.